Just be honest with me, have I failed as like a hip-hop fan? Better yet, have I failed as like a black man if I don't know a lot about Jay-Z? I feel like that's low-key blasphemous, you know what I mean? Like, do you guys judge me for the fact that I haven't gone through this man's whole discography? How many of you have actually sat here and like listened to every single Jay-Z album? I'll wait. I actually want to know, because he's one of those artists where I knew a lot about him before. I know a lot of his songs, but I've never gone through album for album for like an artist like Kanye. So this is going to be an interesting experiment, because hip-hop heads be like, yo, Jay-Z's the GOAT, man, he's the best rapper of all time. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, he's yeah, but I'm not above admitting I probably had to do a bit of my research, you know. So this is every Jay-Z album ranked on a tier list. I know he's a legend and all that, but I don't think anyone is ever above criticisms or me just being brutally honest with what I think. If something's mid, I'm gonna call it mid. If it's really good, I'm gonna sing its praises. That being said, I'm about to glaze the shit out of this album. So I've heard Reasonable Doubt before and I've really enjoyed it, but after sitting with it some more time, I've really come to enjoy it and love it like a lot. Every song for me on here is fire. Like, every song is fire. There's no skips on this album. Jay-Z has like a really unique flow and style and cadence to him, which I think really makes this album stick out and kind of resonate with me, because I feel like I'm getting a unique experience when listening to this in terms of old school hip hop. He's got so many bars on this, like so many. The hooks are pretty solid on this as well. Don't get me started, the beats are all fire. I mean, Dead Presidents 2 is probably one of my favorite hip hop beats of all time. Those keys, the cold drums, and it's just a chilly beat. It's like icy, you know? It sounds timeless. I like the braggadocious ego raps on here. I think Jay-Z's also super witty on here. A lot of his flows have a really sick bounce to them, and I like that he was like doing like triplet flows here and there, and like sometimes he was like a little off beat, but he does it in like a really cool way. My favorite songs off here were The Evils, Feeling It, Can I Live, and Dead Presidents. And to be honest, I'm gonna put this straight into S tier. So this was the first album on my re-listen that I hadn't heard, and yeah, it was decent. It's not better than Reasonable Doubt by quite a margin, but I'm not mad at this at all as like a follow-up. I think it's still a solid album. I don't think Jay-Z sounded as hungry here. He's kind of more luxury rap, still that kind of same subject matter, but like the beats were a lot more chilled back, laid back, something you'd kind of cruise to, whereas the first album felt more like a darker kind of grounded hip-hop album. But that being said, I feel like this is intentional, because I feel like Jay-Z wanted to slip into this kind of like top dog, big exec type of CEO type persona. So I feel like this mood and vibe is very intentional, and you can kind of tell it on this album. In comparison to the first album, this time there was some weird duds in there that I was just kind of confused and thrown off by. I Know What Girls Like, and honestly, the hook on that stank. I know what girls like. That wasn't it, bro. That wasn't it. But it bounces back with one of the best tracks on the album, in my personal opinion, Imaginary Players, which is just like this very smooth track, just so easy to listen to, and Jay-Z flowing nice over it. But anyway, favorite tracks: Imaginary Players, Where I'm From, Who You'd With Too. Pretty solid album. Probably give it A tier in terms of this Jay-Z discography. So this is the one with Hard Knock Life, right? Look, I get it's like a big hit and like a lot of people know it and that, but maybe I've heard it too many times for it to have like this kind of effect on me where it's a song I'm intentionally coming back to and putting in my rotation. I just couldn't really get behind it this much. This album was just okay to me. I don't think I saved any songs from this one. Look, I think it's not bad, but nothing really stuck out to me sonically anyway. Like, I think it's more his beat selection here, because I'm listening to Jay-Z rap and I still think 3 albums in, he's still been pretty consistent as a rapper. But also just the beats and like his presence on the mic, he just sounds way more comfortable in these last 2 albums, and this one he's sounding even more comfortable. Just doesn't really sound too ambitious, to be honest. Can I Get Her is a great track rapping wise, but I just didn't feel the beat at all. So for that, I'm just gonna put this in C tier. Look, at this point in this trilogy, I'm glad it's coming to an end, because it's just all starting to mesh into one, and I don't know, this is because I'm listening to all the albums within a same time frame, but I don't know, I feel like they're just getting less and less ambitious as it goes on, and I think I could care less about this one compared to the last one. But I'd say the big hit of this one is better than the last one in my opinion. I probably enjoy Big Pimpin' more than I do Hard Knock Life. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but there you go, I said it. I say Jay-Z across the board so far as a rapper, he's pretty entertaining. He's like spitting some good shit, and like he's fitting into this persona in his raps pretty well. But I think musically I just feel like he's not really doing too much on these last two albums, and he's kind of slipped into this safe zone, it feels like, which I find it funny because once a few times he like just comes in with this hard hitting hit and it slaps, and then he just kind of goes back into this laid back mode. And also, why is there like a 14-minute song at the end of this album with like 2 minutes of silence between the beat switches? C tier. I'd say now listening to this album, we were starting to emerge out of a slump of what I'd say discography wise. This one was a bit better. I'd say I took a few more songs away from this one than the last one. I think this purely is now boiling down to the reason why I'm probably not liking a lot of this stuff is his production choices. I'm listening to it, I'm like, it's cool. Like, I don't think Jay-Z's actually doing anything too wrong here. Like, I like him as a rapper. I think he's really, like I said before, he's very witty, he's got good flows, but I don't know, as albums as a whole, they're not like grabbing me for some reason. Pause. Like, I love the Chick Monk soulful beat on Soon You'll Understand, and I think the storytelling on that track was really good, and this is like, up to this point, probably one of my favorite songs by him. So I think, yeah, he has high highs, but then like the albums just kind of soften out a bit in my opinion. I think he just needs to switch up his sound a bit. So for that, I'm gonna give this a B tier. And this is what I was talking about. This is what I was talking about. You got production from Timbaland, Kanye, Just Blaze, Bing, and this album felt so refreshing after 3 albums of that trilogy of just like very chilled out, like mellow raps. This felt like it had energy again. It felt like it was ambitious, and it felt like the blueprint is like a blueprint of like how Jay-Z makes his bangs, because every song on here was basically a banger. This is like his like banger album. It's like, if Reasonable Doubt is what you're coming to listen to him rap, I feel like Blueprint is a bit of like that as well, but you've got bangers on here, and it's got the legendary diss track to Nas on it as well. Like, obviously I can see why people hail this as one of his best albums, if not his best album. I just feel like he sounded hungry again. He was spitting, and like the sound of it, they managed to make it sound very New York. Like, I can picture myself being in New York, like bumping this album. Do you know what I mean? I think this album had a vision, a personality, which I respect, and I mean, Renegade is on this. Chee! This is an easy S, and my favorite songs were honestly every damn song on the album, basically. Okay, so before I started this album, I dreaded it for numerous reasons. One, he had a trilogy before, right? So, and we all know how that went previously. 2, I've seen loads of people not like this one nearly as much as the first, so I was already expecting it to not be as good. 25 tracks, Dre, and I'm here to say it. I actually like this a lot. I was so surprised when going through this. Look, and don't get me wrong, 25 albums is crazy, and I didn't like every song on it, but ratio wise, I took away a lot of songs. I saved 16 songs from this 25 track album, which is a pretty good ratio. Did he need 25 songs? Probably not, but these 16 songs have probably like covered me from all the like other albums that I've probably not saved nearly enough songs from. So this, in my opinion, is valid. Is this the first Jay-Z album I'm turning on if I have a pick from all of his albums? Absolutely not. Not near Reasonable Doubt or Blueprint. I'm getting a lot of songs out of this, and in my opinion, there's varied production, there's different tempos, speeds. Not all the beats are of the same vibe. You got like these like rockish beats, which I don't know how Jay-Z ended up finding out he liked rapping on these beats, but it's a funny quirk to have, and he actually makes it work. And I'm not sure if he makes it work well because I've just been exposed to it a lot, or this is just generally really good. But I'm here with it now. Sure, it's too bloated, this and that, and not every song is great, but you know what? I'm still putting this low A. I actually don't get the hate for this. Why are people hating on this one? This is literally the Blueprint 2 trimmed down to 12 tracks, and he almost picked all the best ones off the Blueprint to put on the Blueprint Point 2. Maybe it's a sellout thing, but in my opinion, this is this is like the better version of the Blueprint 2. I don't understand why you'd sit through a 2-hour double disc. These ones that he's got on 2.1 are basically the best tracks of it all, minus a couple. But yeah, this is high A for me. Like this would have been, if this was just a Blueprint 2, I think this would have been a worthy follow-up. Not better, but worthy. Look, I don't know why Jay-Z had a collab album with R. Kelly, but I couldn't really find all of it for some reason. I only listened to a few tracks, didn't care too much for it. I packed it up after like 4 tracks. Oh, and there's a second one. Yeah. Okay, his Bye Bye album, supposedly. Also, pretty super concise album, focused. Now, I don't want to like put down what he's done up until this point, but it's clear from the last few albums he figured out the formula of how to make a hit, if that makes sense. And I just find it funny that like you've got a lot of like non-mainstream rap in this, and then wedged in between you just got like some mainstream shit, and then it's just back to like regular cuts of the album. I don't know, it was just kind of funny. I don't know if it kind of fucked up with the flow for me, but I guess he did that because this was going to be his retirement album, so he wanted to have a bit of everything, so it makes sense. I just think it's kind of funny how like you can see he mastered some sort of formula of how to make a hit. I say this is probably S tier. It's essential Jay-Z. Guys, I tried. I was like, no one talks about this album. I'm gonna be different. I'm gonna come on this thing and I'm gonna say, yo guys, this is an underrated gem. This is my favorite Jay-Z project. Guys, I can't remember a single thing about this album. Even re-listening to it right before recording this, I still can't remember a single song from this album. Every song was just going in one ear and out the other. I was just like genuinely blanking out. I'm sorry. This is genuinely mid. Like, this is actually mid. Okay, so at this point, this is falling in line with what I'd expect from Jay-Z. You know, I know a lot of his die-hard fans consider this one a classic, actually, reading up on it. And apparently it's a concept album based off the film American Gangster, which... Wait, let me just stop talking because I don't think I've even seen American Gangster, so I'm gonna just not comment on that. The music falls into some sort of Jay-Z updated sounds. You got some production from the Neptunes, which in my opinion, I know is one of his most underrated songs. I never really hear anyone talk about some of these cuts, like his like more fun bouncy cuts. Like I know it's so great, like it's got such a good bounce to it. The keys are great on it, and yeah, there's just some actual great songs on here, which, even though this album's considered a classic, maybe didn't have like these huge mainstream hits from it, but there's some good songs on it. It's gonna be like either B or A. I'll see how I'm feeling. I'm not gonna lie, this Blueprint trilogy was way better than whatever the first trilogy he did is. I feel like the Blueprint is basically just make a load of bangers, because every Blueprint comes with a different type of energy. Like he's rapping better. The previous trilogy, he just felt too relaxed, but Blueprint, it always feels like he's actually experimenting with different sounds and doing something different. And maybe it's just biased because I remember when this came out. I was quite young, but I do remember when it came out, and I remember a good few of these songs being on the radio. And you know, Run This Town is one of his most popular songs ever, and it might be one of my favorite like mainstream Jay-Z songs, to be honest, because that beat is just hard, the hook is great, and like I think it's just like a pretty cool track. I also really like that, you know, and this is like the end of the trilogy, but it's also got some sort of passing of the torch moment with A Star Is Born with J. Cole in it, which again, not being biased because I'm a Cole fan, I think it's a pretty good song. I wish Cole's verse was a bit longer, but yeah, there was some kind of like cool passing of the torch because he had like collaborations with like Kid Cudi on here and Drake, but the Drake track sucked. So yeah, it's gonna probably sound crazy, but I'm gonna put this in A tier. Like there's a lot of songs I like in this, and then the ones that weren't so good, I'm gonna just skip them and pretend they never existed. Okay, Watch the Throne. You know, I always thought, yeah, Watch the Throne is a classic. Like you can't shit on Watch the Throne. And then I went back and listened to it, and I was like, oh yeah, it's kind of just okay. Like I think the big hits of it are the ones that got the best attention from it for good reason. And I also forgot that there's that one track where they're kind of just rapping over dubstep. I'm not gonna say I like that song because that would be a lie. I'm gonna give Watch the Throne a B tier. I think it's a solid album. Like the rapping performance is good, and it had some ambition. I think it was trying to be this larger than life collaboration tape, and who can blame him when it's literally Kanye and Jay-Z? So yeah. This just felt like Jay-Z's I Can Be Cool Too Kids album. Like, some of this is aged so badly. Like, sonically it just sounds so dated. It sounds very early 2010s, and it showed some ambition. That first track with Justin Timberlake is like, it feels like very like, oh, this is a new era, this is Jay-Z and his, you know, the modern era kind of thing. And like, I don't even like the song like that, but I respect it. It sounded kind of ambitious. But yeah, there's just a lot of songs that just don't sound too great to me. But although I really enjoyed the song Somewhere in America, I think that was like really good. I love the keys on that one. I think it's just the keys hook me, and I think he just knows how to probably rap over beats like that. And then you got other tracks where it just sounds like more Jay-Z. I don't know, he has a sound and he just sounds very comfortable, I suppose. Look, I actually don't think it's too bad. I don't think it's bad at all. I actually re-listened to it and I was finding myself enjoying it quite a bit more than when I first listened to it. But I won't lie to you, it's very safe, you know. Like it just sounds like they wanted to make cookout music, like an album that you could just play at a cookout. And that's pretty much how I feel about it. I'll put it in B tier near Watch the Throne. Heavy 444 from the first track. You know he's coming on something different. But yeah, from the intro right to the last track, you can tell this album had intention. It was meant to be something. It wasn't just a random arrangement of songs. It was trying to be his most honest, warm, intimate, thought-provoking, ugly, like every emotion. There was actual, like, this album has a lot of emotion to it. I think it's great. It has this kind of lo-fi sound, which I think is really cool. Like, No ID and Jay-Z just kind of locked in and they just kind of perfected this very lo-fi, soul sample-y, sample heavy album. And in a year that was fucking stacked with hip-hop, this one still manages to stand out as one of the best in my opinion. I think for me, after listening to all of Jay-Z's albums, this is still an essential listen, because you're finally getting songs that are from a different perspective of him ripping off the Jay-Z persona, being honest and talking about what happened with him and Beyonce, him shedding some light and talking about conversations he had with Prince, just loads of stuff. And like, there's just, for me, I think every song is amazing in its own way. I didn't save every song, but most of that album for me is saved in loads of my playlist. So easy S tier, one of his best in my opinion. Do not sleep on this if you haven't heard it already. And yeah, that's Jay-Z ranked. Looking at this, I think my conclusion on Jay-Z is that he is definitely a phenomenal rapper. I've never once doubted that. But I do feel like his discography compared to some other hip-hop artists, it's just a bit spotty, man. Like, it's a bit inconsistent, or like, I just feel like he has a lot of like nothing albums. I feel like not every album he put out was very ambitious, or like he was trying to do much with it other than maybe just put out some more music, which is fine. Like, he's well respected, he has his fans, but in my opinion that just kind of leads to some of his albums feeling a bit just in one ear out the other. But when he actually steps out of his comfort zone or really locks in with a purpose, Blueprint, 444, Reasonable Doubt, I think he puts together really great bodies of music. So overall, what am I giving his whole discography? I'll probably give it like a 78 out of 100. Let me know who you guys want me to do next. I might do some non-hip-hop albums as well. I'm thinking of doing Radiohead, but if you guys have any other people you want me to do, let me know. I'm gonna go through their whole discography easy. That's what I do. We're gonna be honest on here, and that's about it. We're trying to reach 500 subscribers before the end of the year, so if you can, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.